Well, good morning. I'm Nelson, and welcome to my channel, The Nelby Life. Today is a beautiful day, midweek, and I'm going to meet up with some friends, and we're going to take a ride in the northern direction out of Charlotte to an area called Mt Airy. If you're familiar with the TV show, the Andy Griffith Show, the fictional town of Mayberry was actually recorded in the area of Mt Airy. So we're going to take a ride that'll take us up through and near the Blue Ridge Parkway. We'll probably stop for lunch in that area, and then I'll make our way there and then come back. So it's a midweek ride, and I'm looking forward to it. I've been there a few times, but it's been a little while, so we're going to do a preview. My wife loves that channel, that TV show, so I promised that I would take her up there later on after the weather gets a bit more predictable. So I hope you choose to stay tuned and check out the ride today. It should be fun. So it's around 10 a.m. and I met Phil and Spazzo over in northwest Concord, and now we're making our way over to Highway 601, and the plan is to take 601 up into the Mt Airy area. Phil is from Mt Airy, so we asked him to lead this ride today, so I'm looking forward to it. Our route takes us through the small town of Mottsville. Population is around 5,000, and it's one of 74 towns in North Carolina and one of 3,000 towns in the nation that has received the recognition as Free City USA. Well, we've made good time, and we're now pulling into the town of Mt Airy, also known as Mayberry USA, and we're passing by the Andy Griffith Museum. So we're going to bypass the main street in Mayberry, Mt Airy, and circling around downtown. But another time when I bring my wife up here, we'll take time to walk through and see all of the exhibits and the different shops they have there. We're continuing our journey and heading on up towards the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's not long before the roads become more twisty as we continue our travel, and we're climbing in elevation as well. I love riding these twisty and turny roads. It's absolutely exciting as well as relaxing to me. Soon we'll be crossing over into Virginia just before getting to the Blue Ridge Parkway. So we're now entering the Blue Ridge Parkway, and just as we had come upon the sign on the right, it was a glimpse, I'd noticed it was flashing red and said Parkway closed due to ice, snow, and debris. But since I'm following Phil and thinking, okay, he knows this part's up here, he must know a way around this, and perhaps we're not going as far down the parkway as it might require. But it's very soon that I'm starting to see all kind of debris on the road. And as we go through the shadows on the north side of some of these rock faces, I'm seeing sheets of ice. This is not a good sign. But right now I'm able to navigate, we're all able to navigate around the debris, and there's area that's cleared up, so I'm hopeful that it will get better as we go and not get worse. So let's see what happens. The further we go, the more debris is covering the roadway, and this is not looking good. So I'm riding with a lot of caution, with still a bit of hope that we'll get out of this soon. The road condition is getting worse and worse, and at this point, I'm just about ready to call it quit and turn around. But the adventurous side of me say that, okay, I'm going to follow these guys a little bit further. So we see a car approaching, coming from the opposite direction, and Phil stops, and they're talking. I can't hear exactly what they're saying, but it provides a little bit of hope, I guess, that if they're saying that maybe we can make it through and the worst will be behind us. So for some reason, Phil continued to go forward, and it wasn't but a few yards that we came to a dead end with tree collapsed completely over the roadway, and there's no way around it. So it's at this point that finally convinced that we need to turn around and figure out another way.
So finally, they turn around, talk with Phil. Phil says he doesn't know another way around it. I say, let's double back, even if we have to go all the way back to Mt Airy the way that we came. However, I plugged in a detour route on the GPS that took us around, and fortunately, uh, this route that pretty much ran parallel with the parkway got us to the direction and ultimately to the destination that we wanted to go to.
So this has been a fun day, quite an adventurous day. After we left Mt Airy, where I thought we were going to have lunch, actually, uh, Phil, which was leading the ride, wanted to come up here to, we were in Hillsville. We were right at Fancy Gap, I-77. So for a while we were in Virginia. Well, we get to the restaurant where he wanted us to eat, called the Gap Deli, and it's closed on Tuesdays. So we're going to go up here to this cafe. I've eaten there before a few years ago, and I remember a long time ago with my buddy Larry Ziegler brought me up here for the first time in Hillsville, and we actually stayed in a motel right across the street from the cafe. So that's where we're headed now. Hopefully they're open. So stay tuned for more. Y'all, so we're up here in Hillsville, and like I said, the first restaurant Phil wanted to take us was closed. They're still doing maintenance and all up here. The debris was amazing, and the ice along the parkway. So this is another reason why I wouldn't have volunteered to come up here to the Blue Ridge Parkway this time of year, mid-February or late February. The ironic part is that now that we're here, about 17 years ago, 18 years ago, I forgot how long, right behind me is a motel where Larry Ziegler and I stayed when he brought me up here. It was my first time up here on a motorcycle when I came up here with him. So this cafe diner was right across the street, and this is where we ate a meal. And a few, let's see, I think it was 2020, I rode up here for lunch one time. So, and it was still good. So here we are today. So let's go in and hopefully it's still good. Even if it's not, I'm starving, so can't wait to get inside. Let's go. The diner still looks pretty much the same as when I was here in 2005.
Thank you. There's your call.
Food was good.
Oh.
Yeah, you have it. Make sure you take the deal when you come.
All right, well, we had a good lunch. The food is still good here as ever. And glad we had an opportunity to eat here since the other place was closed. So, yeah, it was 2005 when I was last in this area. Well, not last in this area. When I first came here, right here at Fancy Gap, Hillville area. And as I said, my buddy and I were out on a sightseeing trip riding the Blue Ridge Parkway. And right behind me is the motel where we had stayed, the Mountain View Motel. You can see it's closed. I think it's closed. It looks like it's closed. Maybe they're trying to revamp it. Mountaintop Motel. Bikers are welcome. See that sign up there. Right behind me is the Blue Ridge Parkway, which this section is closed, so don't come up at this point thinking that you can ride the parkway north or south, because the lanes have debris all over it and it's not open. That's why we had to get off the parkway just to make it here. So at this point, we're going to make it back to the Charlotte area. I'm going to jump on I-77, head south, take our time, and maybe we can get in before the traffic gets really bad. Stay tuned. Well, I'm happy to report that I made it home safely, and I believe the other two riders that were out on the road, Spazzo and Phil, also made it home as well. It wound up being quite an adventurous ride, what I thought would be somewhat of a general ride to an area where I've been before, which is Mt Airy, also known as Mayberry, North Carolina. Wound up being an adventure when, in fact, we didn't go to Mt Airy for lunch. That was just a ride through, and Phil, who was leading the ride today, took us up onto the Blue Ridge Parkway. He didn't see the sign that said Parkway closed for ice, snow, and debris. So I saw that, but because he's from Mt Airy, I thought that perhaps he knew some special passage and maybe we weren't going to be going that far onto the parkway. Well, it turns out it didn't take long at all until we saw those things. Tree debris from a recent ice storm that's fallen over the road, and we had to run an obstacle course getting around that. Saw the north side of ledges that had icicles and ice flows still there. And we eventually got to a point where a tree was blocking the entire roadway, so we had to turn around and had to use a trusted GPS to give me an alternate route, which took us back around that, an off parkway ride on over to Mt Airy, Highway 52. And then from there, when we got off of that area, it turned out being there in Hillsville, Virginia, in Fancy Gap. And back in 2005, a good friend of mine, Larry Ziegler, took me there, one of the earlier model bikes that I had back in those days. And we actually spent the night in a motel right across from this diner where we wound up having lunch. Oh yeah, the other part about all of this deal is the anticipated restaurant was closed today. So we teased Phil about his leading the ride. So he's on probation about leading. But nonetheless, it turned out to be a fun time. The weather was beautiful. Certainly, we appreciate that, and we all made it back home safely. So I hope you stuck with us through the video. It was an enjoyable ride, and until next time, I'm Nelson with NLB Life. Actually, if you haven't already, please consider to subscribe to my channel. Give me a like or a comment how I can make it better, or what you did like about the video. And this weather is slowly but surely getting closer to spring, so hopefully somehow, some way, who knows, we might even meet out on the road somewhere. But until the next time, I'm Nelson with NLB Life, and I'm out.